It's your favorite squirrels, Shy and Lex. It's time for another episode of Black Girl, Brown Girl, Squirrel. We want to take a moment to acknowledge there are a variety of people who could describe themselves as neurodivergent, and this can include a diverse list of conditions, disorders, etc.
And while our experiences may specifically relate to autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, we hope that all our listeners can feel welcome and relate to the shared experience of being neurodivergent in a neurotypical world, because this is our safe space.
Hey, Lex.
Hey, friend.
So, I guess now it's my turn. Last episode, we talked about autism spectrum disorder, and I just learned so much that some of it I knew, but it was so much deeper when you can talk to somebody that's living it, breathing it, and understands it, and you brought it to life. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's crazy. We didn't even get into everything. That's the crazy thing about it. We just didn't have that much time.
Right. There's a lot, but that's why we have a show, right? Because we can always come back to it and talk about it more. And there's so much more. There's so much research that's still coming out. Because like there was on Instagram, and I've started following her page. I can't remember her name now. She's a therapist that specializes in neuroscience and neuropsychology. And she broke down our brains and why technically every person alive is neurodivergent. It's just that we have a segment of a population that experiences certain traits and symptoms that put them into these other categories that we're talking about, like ADHD, ASD, and so forth. But she was like, no, she says everybody's brain is just as unique as their fingerprints. No two brains are the same, just like no two fingerprints technically are the same. I guess that doesn't count for identical twins, but no two brains are the same. She says, so technically all of us are divergent from each other. So we're all neurodivergent, but for all intents and purposes, when it comes to talking about specific categories, we're neurodivergent. But I thought that was so fascinating. And the way she explained it, I was just sitting there like, so I'm going to see if one day I might be able to get her on the show to talk about that a little bit more, because it blew my mind. Mm-hmm. So to pick up where we left off, we're going to talk about ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And what's interesting is at one point there was ADD, which was attention deficit disorder. And then it's all now under one umbrella of ADHD. And the main reason for that is because those of us that have ADHD, it's basically there's three types: the inattentive, the hyperactive, and the combined. So we'll talk about that. Most boys are combined, I would say, because they have the inattentive or the hyperactivity. Depends. I don't know what the percentage is on that. But for those of us as women, it's really interesting and unique because we can actually fall into any aspect of this. So again, as we said before, we're all on a spectrum of some sort. So let's get into this. And then
I want to add one little caveat to that.
Go ahead. Add one caveat.
Most boys are hyperactive ADHD. I would say that most of the time people diagnosed with hyperactive tend to be boys. And I put it that way differently because there is also gender bias in how diagnoses happen.
Yes.
And so, yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Another topic.
Yeah.
So very true. So let's talk about this. So the inattentive aspects of ADHD might have traits, or generally have traits, like the inability to pay attention to details. So what that means is they have to put a report together with a bunch of numbers in it, and maybe they didn't double check the numbers, or they got misspellings and typos in a document, things like that. And it happens on a regular basis. Inattentiveness presents as not being able to stay on task. So they sit down and they start one task, and then they do 11 million other things. It's like having you starting off in one tab to do one thing, and all of a sudden you've got 2 screens, 1,000 tabs. The music is playing on 3 of them and you don't know where it's coming from. But all of a sudden you feel the need to go and find it out when you should be doing something else. I'm not saying I identify with that or not. They also have trouble listening. So that kind of goes to the details, like they're hearing what's said. So they're hearing the sound, but they're not listening to detect what the sounds are actually saying, to distinguish what is being said and what is being meant. So that's what we mean by listening when it comes to that. Lack of follow through, probably because they forgot. That's why it's called inattentive. There was something they were supposed to do. And they forgot.
They're like, follow through on what? What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. Was I supposed to do something? Disorganization, whether it's their desk, whether it's their closet, their notes, something on a regular, all day, everyday basis is not organized by any means. That doesn't mean certain things aren't organized, but the vast majority is not organized. There's procrastination, so they're putting off the things that they should be doing, which goes back into difficulty staying on task. So they're procrastinating on doing the task that they should be doing because they're busy doing something else. They lose things very often. So they don't remember where their cell phone is. They may have lost their car keys. They may have lost their mind. No, sometimes that's what it feels like. Trust me, that's what it feels like sometimes. But they're constantly losing things and replacing things. And honestly, they'll end up finding some of those things later. Easily distracted, which is one reason why this podcast is called Black Girl, Brown Girl, Squirrel. So easily distracted. And there's forgetfulness, not remembering things, and especially things that might be of significant importance. They may not always remember. Glad I have therapy tomorrow.
Inattentive. You can talk about some of these things, friend.
I'm going to be like, I was just talking about myself on the podcast. Okay, so that's the inattentive side. Then you have hyperactive ADHD and how that presents. So that could be fidgeting. And I know a lot of times people think of fidgeting like, for instance, maybe they're clicking a pen or they are, tapping their fingers. Fidgeting can also be sometimes shaking of your knees, like you shake your leg or you shake your knee. Fidgeting could be twirling your hair. It could be any number of things where it's like you can't stop yourself. It's a compulsive type of thing. Getting up out of your seat often. Some people have a problem staying still, sitting down, being in one place. They have to get up and they have to move. They have to do something in order to be able to help them focus. Chronic restlessness, to me, that's kind of like the same thing. You got to be doing something all the time. Difficulty engaging in quiet activities. So I found this one kind of interesting because I never really thought about that. So basically that means, for instance, have you ever been to the library? Do people still go to libraries? If they're in college.
I go to the library. I still go to the library.
Too. But if you ever been, let's just say you've been to, a bookshop, like a Barnes and Noble. Everybody's been to at least a Barnes and Noble or Books A Million or something. And you go in there and sometimes it's like really quiet. It's not necessarily buzzing with activity. It's just really quiet. But you have that one person who cannot stay quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what this is talking about. Like quiet to them is awkward. It's too still. They have to have some sort of noise somewhere and doing something, which ties also, the restlessness ties into the next part. They're always on the go. This person is probably never at home, never sitting still, always doing something for other people because they're always on the go. They forget to text you back or tell you, I'm sorry, I couldn't text you. Why? Because they're always on the go. Made me think of something Lex said to me not too long ago. I'll come back to that, but it was hilarious. Yeah. But then I had to stop myself. So I was like, whatever. And I think you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, talking excessively. So that kind of goes to the restlessness. I think it also kind of goes to they don't feel like they're being heard or understood. I think it also goes to they need to fill the space. Something's got to be going on. I don't know. Blurting out or finishing sentences. Yeah. I don't even know how to help y'all with that because I'm sitting here. I was telling you, for real, I got therapy to pour out. It's going to be an interesting discussion.
Talking excessively and blurting out or finishing sentences for people, to me, it seems like because you're like literally hyperactive, like your brain is constantly going, that you simply have a lot of things to say. Like, I think it might just be like, oh yeah, I have all these things to say. Like because I have several people in my life who do this, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you have not stopped talking from the time I walked into this room. Are you okay? And they are. They're just like, yeah, why wouldn't I be? I'm like, okay, they just got a lot of stuff just going in their heads and blurting out sentences, because there's a little bit of like that impatience. Like, I don't like standing in lines and I don't like waiting on you to finish your sentence.
And the other thing too is because their minds are already thinking ahead. Like, I've already picked up what you're laying down, so I'm ready to move on. And I think I'm a disc behavioral analyst. And so I'm constantly analyzing people's communication styles, their behaviors, word choices, things like that. And if I had to kind of put the different types of neurodivergence on like a disc scale, I would say those who are ASD on the autism spectrum, they're probably the D's, which are more results oriented, get to the bottom line. They need it cut just black and white. They need it straight. And they're probably also C's, the compliance, because they're going to keep thinking over certain things and going back and they're going to check checklists. Some of them will constantly be checking, but is this right? Are you sure? At least that's what my experience has been with the variety of those that I have interacted with who are on the autism spectrum. The inattentive ones, they are probably going to be more eyes because they want to be involved in some of anything and everything. And when we say inattentive, we're not talking about those who multitask. They go beyond multitasking. They are multitasking for the multitaskers. So they're constantly involved in everything. And those that have the hyperactive ADHD, they are generally very relationship oriented because they want to be involved in everything, but they're there to help you and they want to talk to you and they want to get to know. That's kind of how I see them if I were combining that. The blurting out and finishing sentences really is, I heard you and my mind is already 10,000 times ahead of where you are. So I already know what you're about to say. And sometimes they're wrong.
As a person who is often interrupted, it's usually wrong. It's usually wrong. It's not what I was about to say at all.
Yeah. All right. So difficulty waiting in lines. They have no patience. And that's because they've got to keep moving. They got to keep going. So if I have to stop and wait, that means they have to stop, pause, and they need to be going. And then interrupting and intruding on others. I find this one really interesting. Part of that, again, like I said, is because their minds are probably already racing ahead. They probably already think they know what the other person's going to say or what they're going to do. And it's not always meant to be rude or anything of that nature. Something gets sparked. And like Lex said, they've got to get it out and say something. So when it comes to these symptoms, there's a process that is done to really diagnose whether or not, I forgot to mention the third one, which I think you may have all kind of put together. It's called ADHD combined, which means you have the inattentive and the hyperactive all together in one beautiful, chaotic package. That is called your brain. That's me. And sadly, I shouldn't say sadly, but I'm sitting here going, sadly, I could probably check every one of these on my list.
That was going to be my question. Like, which do you feel best describes you? But you said it for me. You said combined.
I'm combined. But I wasn't told I was combined. I was just told I had ADHD. And it wasn't until I started reading more up on it and learning about it that I go, I have combined ADHD. because I do lack attention to details unless I am in hyper-focused mode. Then everything stands out to me. If the font was supposed to be 12 point and you've got a 13 point, trust and believe I will notice it. Any other time, I probably wouldn't. But the one thing about those of us that are in this bracket, and I don't know if you're the same too on the autism spectrum, so this will be interesting to find out. I can almost easily pick up patterns in behavior, patterns that I see. Like if you tell me go find numbers in, on a screen, give me a couple of minutes, or word searches. I was so good at word searches growing up. Like when we used to do word searches in class as part of our reading exercises, everybody wanted to be my partner because I could pick up the words. Like I could look at it and then be boom, 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 picking up different patterns and all that kind of stuff. I can tell if something is slightly off, if it's not aligned. I mean, it's, I don't know. Do you have that too, that capability?
So I would say pattern recognition as far as in people's behavior, for sure. But that's how I was able to survive life. I kind of know what I'm supposed to do in a situation based off of what I've previously seen and like, what does this person usually do? Okay, so that means I'm probably going to need to speak to them about this in this way, which is why if you take me in a scenario that's totally different, it's like I break. Because I'm like, you've broken the pattern. I don't know what to do. So now I'm kind of shutting down because I don't really know what to do in this situation. Picking up patterns like numbers and things like that, and like visual cues like that are very hard for me. Sometimes with autism, like sensory sensitivities, you can have like be hypersensitive in some areas and like really lack the sensitivity in others. So I would say like hearing things, smelling things, those are very strong for me. Visually, I'll miss things all the time. I'm like, I didn't see that, and I don't even know why I'm supposed to be looking to see that. So it kind of differs depending on the context.
And you know what's so ironic? So I was reading something somewhere else that was also talking about, for those of us that are neurodivergent, doesn't matter what we are called or labeled as, we also get blindness, so to speak. So like yesterday, I sat down, I had my watch, I sat it down and literally turned around 2 seconds later and could not find it. And I was looking everywhere. And when I came home, as soon as I walked in my room, my eyes zeroed straight in on it. And I was like, how did I miss that? I literally looked over here like for 10 minutes and it was on top. It wasn't under anything. It was literally on top. But we can get a certain blindness. But when I'm hyper focused, I'm picking up some of everything, which is kind of weird. Difficulty staying on task. Yes, that has gotten worse as I've gotten older. In school, I could finish stuff. And once I was finished, I was done. And I'm like, give me something else. Trouble listening. I don't think that was a real big deal for me because I could always listen to people and hear them. Because I was very much in tune to what other people were thinking. I was a people pleaser. I wanted you to like me. So I'm going to listen to you. You can say something to me once, maybe twice, and you'll be like, I can't believe you remembered that my favorite color is hunter green. Yes, I remember that. I remember that you like such and such and such. Now, it might take me a minute to go I'm going to find that special something to let you know that I remember that that's your favorite. Or I may come back and ask you, which I've done with you guys and with our friends. I've asked in subtle ways, different questions so I can get answers to stuff. So I'm like, okay, always got something working in the brain on what I'm going to do. I can't wait till when I can finally do what I really want to do for you guys. You're going to be like, what? But anyway, total squirrel moment. But I find that that's one that I can't necessarily take. Lack of follow through. That is something I've definitely had to work hard on. It depends on what it is. Disorganization. Yes. There's my private sanctum. Yes. Other aspects of my life. Like my mom would come to visit me at work and she was like, why is your cube or my office just like pristine? Not a thing is out of place, but you come home and it looks like a bomb has gone off. One of the things that I learned is, and even now, there are parts of my kitchen that are very much organized. My spices, we've talked about that. Like my spices are all in alphabetical order. I have clear bins in my pantry so I can see my cereals and all of these different types of things. And it irritates my family that I get upset with them when stuff is not put back in the right place, like my pots and pans. But my desk right now, if you were to see a picture of my desk that I did clean for the most part, still disorganized. My bedroom closet, I had it organized, but I also have someone else in my home that I am married to that I believe is fully on the ND spectrum. So we're going to work through that. But for me, a lot of my disorganization is reflective of my mental health status. So when my mind is not clear and it's jumbled and I'm trying to work through things, that's when a lot of disorganization takes place. And it's normally in my personal space, not elsewhere. Because the masking, I learned that you keep your living room clean, you keep your kitchen clean, you keep your bathroom clean from when you have guests. The rest of your house, in your bedroom or whatever, that's your private space. It can look like whatever. And so that's how I learned how to mask certain things too. Procrastination, that was I can't even, Losing things often. As a kid, yes, I lost earrings, jackets, lunch boxes. My mom kept telling my family, stop giving her jewelry because she's not going to do anything but lose it. Like, I would lose earrings on a regular basis, and my ears are pierced. And she would still be like, why are you coming home with one earring in your ear? I don't know.
I was about to say, how you losing earrings? They in your ear. What you doing?
I would.
All right.
Earrings, rings, all that kind of stuff. As I gotten older, I've definitely gotten more better because I've been paying attention to that. Easily distracted, that happens more so when I'm working on something that I'm like, I'm really not feeling this right now. I can be very easily distracted. And unfortunately, on a computer, I can get very easily distracted. Like, I will say, oh, let me go open this file. And I go to open that file. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I checking email? Why am I, scrolling Instagram? Why am I over here? Because that something I did triggered the thought of something else. It triggered a thought of something else. And now I'm going down that rabbit hole of that. Forgetfulness. So I have a lot of alarms and reminders. So I have in my calendars. My mom she was like, have you called so-and-so or have you checked in with so-and-so? And I'd be like, nope. Like, a lot of my relationships I have back home in California kind of went by the wayside some. We're still cool, but I wasn't as close because I wasn't checking in with them once I moved across the country. So I have on my calendar now a reminder, which I have to get back on track with, that every 3 weeks I was checking in with my list of girlfriends because I wanted to make sure they knew I thought about them. I wanted them to make sure they knew that I loved them. And I didn't want them to think that there was any time that went by that I wasn't thinking about them,
What's so interesting about this, what you just said, the information that we pulled about the symptoms of ADHD and the different types, it came from the Cleveland Clinic. And in this article, it has some quotes from, I believe it's a pediatric behavioral specialist. And he's speaking also about adults, though, with ADHD. And he said an adult with ADHD must often have an external organizational system like calendars, reminders, timers, and a network of people to help keep them on track. If they don't, they're relying on what they keep in their heads to assist them. And that information is at times highly inaccessible. And you truly just described that scenario.
Yep. Because it's not that you don't want to remember. It's not that you don't feel it's important. I'm very empathetic. So when I hear like my friends or a good acquaintances tell me, the date of an anniversary, I instantly go to my calendar and put it on there so I can remember the following year to tell them, oh, this is their anniversary, happy anniversary. And if I happen to know what number it is, I put it in there on the date that I did it. So I know the following year when I look at, it'll say, okay, in 2025, it was their 7th anniversary. So when it comes around for 2026, I know it's their 8th anniversary. And I can say happy 8th anniversary or whatever the case may be, because they're important to me. And I know that if I don't set certain reminders about things that are important to them, if I don't keep notes about things that are important to them, even though they're important to me, I will not be able to recall them. I just will not. I would be like, Lex told me who her favorite K-pop group is and her bias in that group. Now, who is it? And because I've done a deep dive into everything and everyone, I will think of everything else under the sun except for BTS and RM. And after you talked about being ASD and various components, I was like, yep, her and RM. Yep, I see that's a match. I see why that's a match very much in a lot of ways. But that's a whole nother story. We'll talk about K-pop another time. But my point is that I will forget to take medications. I will forget to eat. I used to have a water time, a thing to help me with drinking water. Now I don't need it quite as much. There's different tips and tricks. Like one really great book is Atomic Habits. It's an excellent book to help people to understand how to cultivate new habits and how to attach them. And so I've had to start figuring out techniques to help me to do things. I would forget what notebook I would write stuff in. So now I put it all into my phone. So at least I know where it is. Or I keep one running document in my computer because I know where it is. Now, to other people, it's going to be a jumbled, chaotic mess of all these rando thoughts that are in my head. I do brain dumps all the time, but it's out my head and I know exactly where it is. And when I'm ready to go look at it, I can go look at it. So yeah, I need all the things. And you're a big help because like you said, you need a network of people. Yes. So you've been a big help since we've been doing the show, but even prior to that, you would be a big help. You guys check in on me and be like, okay, friend, when we last talked, this is where you were, or this is what you were doing. How are you today? We done gave you some time, baby. Have you worked it out? And if not, well, maybe, and you'll be very honest with you. It's like, maybe what you need to do is. And of course, what you tell me I need to do is what I need to be doing. And then I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to do it. And you don't want to hear that because you're black and white. You're like, I don't care about the shades of gray. You either going to do black or you're going to do white. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you what, you're going to do black because I'm going to make you do black. How about that? And I'd be like, oh, okay, it's going to be black today. And then when I'm all the better for it. I'm all the better for it. So now the hyperactive side, fidgeting, that has gotten worse as I realized that I also had an anxiety disorder. My social anxiety and my personal anxiety has gotten extremely worse over the years. And I know it was made worse by 2020 with the pandemic and all the things that were going on that year. Getting up out of my seat often, no, I don't do that. I can sit still. No. Chronic restlessness. Depends on the situation and this is going to tie into something else that we're going to talk about in a minute. It also depends on how my body is feeling at that time. You had highlighted something in here that I could specifically talk to about that, but I'll come back to that. Difficult engaging in quiet activities. Nope, I'm the complete opposite. I can drive for hours and not say a word. My husband and I can get in the car, drive 3-4 hours. I'm straight. I can put on some music. I'm straight. Or
now, I will add this to it, and then you can speak to it whichever way you want.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when we went to the beach recently,
okay,
we were both sitting in the back seats, so I could see everything you got going on there.
Yeah.
So yes, you can be in a quiet activity because you're doing 8 things at one time.
But the last time we went, I was driving.
So this must have been the year before that then.
Yeah.
When Jazz was driving. You were watching a K-drama on your iPad, playing a game, also controlling the music that we're all listening to on your iPad. You've got things you're doing in your emails, looking at social media. You were doing so many things at one time. So yes, you were able to be in a quiet space because you were occupying your mind with every activity available to you.
And I'll be perfectly honest, that was probably because I did not know that I was dealing with high levels of anxiety that was not being managed well. Because usually I can come into a room. Now, I will say this, and this might be where the difficulty engaging in quiet activities. I can come into the room. If I can turn on some mellow music, something that's going to bring me down, or sounds that are going to bring me down, I can come into a room, I can clean, I can lay down, I can relax. I'm good. Sometimes I need an absolute quiet. I really do. Sometimes I need an absolute quiet. When I'm done training, like when I have to go to big training events and I'm training several hundred people at a time or several thousand people in a day, I go back to my hotel room and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put on something that's familiar to me. So I might watch like Downton Abbey, something that's long and familiar. Downton Abbey, a favorite K-drama, something like that. And the reason for that is because, and this is something I found out too, I started following on Instagram this Korean doctor she goes by Nuna's Nuchi on Instagram. And she talked about how watching shows that we have, or TV shows or movies or whatever that we've already seen, actually calms our anxiety because we know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like my mom's like, why do you always have to come home and turn on the TV? It's not that I'm coming home and turning on the TV. I'm coming home and I'm turning on something very specific because it's helping to calm me down. Not that I'm watching it. I'm not even tuning into it. I'm not even really listening to it. Or like if I'm heads down doing instructional design, my family knows if they see Downton Abbey on, I am in a mode, leave me alone, because I'm getting ready to work through all 6 seasons. Because it's familiar. I don't have to watch it. I don't have to listen to it. Or like The Gilded Age, I've watched them all. I don't have to listen to it. It's comforting. So this whole thing about difficulty engaging in quiet activities, I can go sit in the library and read a book and be perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Does not bother me. Or I can sit at the beach and sit in silence. Now I might be in prayer. I might just be listening to the sounds. So that depends on my anxiety level for me. You're always on the go? No. I might always be working, like you said, doing something like that, but I work from home. So I'm not always out on the go. I literally can't do that. If I go out one night and we go to a concert or whatever, best believe come the next day, unless it's something I absolutely have to do, my behind is at home because I'm tired. My body, my everything. I had a great time, but mentally, physically, everything, I'm home. It's very rare that I do things back to back because of that. Yeah, I'm not that on. I know somebody that is always on the go, and I'd be like, dude, I need you to sit down. You know who I'm talking about. I'd be like, are you
I
ever
sure do.
And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm like, you ain't never home. You can't return message. You like literally from the time you get up in the morning until 10, 11 o'clock at night, you are on the go.
Yep.
Not that I'm diagnosing or anything.
That's our friend, though.
That's our friend.
He be outside.
He do. But if you need him, he's there for you. I will say.
Always.
Always. He will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Talk excessively. Yes, that's always been an issue. That was on my report card. It lived on my report card. It was just stamped across my forehead. And even now, I find it challenging that the harder I try not to talk as much as I end up talking more. Growing up, I didn't always feel understood and I didn't always feel heard. And we'll get into those conversations later because I know both of us have different experiences when it comes to interacting with our different family units and everything. And that's a part of that. I just didn't feel like I was heard. I'm not saying that I could not talk. I felt I wasn't heard. And then when you suffer trauma, and part of that trauma is I've got to swallow this and not talk about this, or at least that's how you feel you're supposed to react, because that's how most of us react. I don't know. I felt like I needed to talk and be pleasant while swallowing something rather bitter. I got picked on in school a lot because I was, and I'm not trying to sound cocky or conceited, but I was smart. I read, because all I did was read. So I read books. The only thing that I couldn't do was math. And if the kids really wanted to give me, that's what they should have picked on me about. But what they saw, like you talked about in one of the episodes, was I was the smart kid. I was the one the teachers liked because I talked on a level that they can understand. I was, highly articulate, all these different things. And kids didn't like that. But I was also good at certain things like playing tetherball or double dutching or different things like that, which were fun kid things to do. But then again, they always had to find something. Where they could not touch me was when I was involved in theater. So I was doing dance and stuff. They wouldn't talk about me dancing, and they wouldn't talk about necessarily how smart I was in class. They wanted me to be with them to help them to whatever. But they would look at me and be like, your hair is brown. And I'm like, my hair is not brown. My hair is black. Your hair is not black. It's brown. I can see it in the sun. It's brown. And I would fall to pieces. I was hypersensitive. And then when I would try to talk to people and explain myself, and they would just look at me and be like, oh my God, why do you talk so much? Why are you just, and I'm like, and I tell everybody, there's a line from one of my favorite songs by Jennifer Holliday called I Am Love. And she starts the song by saying, if I talk too much, you see, I'm trying desperately to be understood. If I seem a little shy, it's for all the times that I hid my heart alone in the dark. And I felt like that as a child, when I heard those lines, I was like, that's me. Blurting out or finishing sentences. Yes, I try not to finish people's sentences anymore. Blurting out, yes, because you've triggered some response in me that's like, oh, that's a great idea. And then we could do da-da-da-da-da. Difficulty waiting in lines. No, I have learned a whole great deal of patience. It ain't that serious, and I'm not trying to die. Interrupting.
But I ain't trying to die. Hit me a little bit later. I feel that.
I'm just saying, it's not that serious to me. And if I find like I don't have the time to wait, I don't have a problem just walking out. Just walk out. Just walk out. It's not. And I think part of that too also comes from I've worked retail in a number of different ways. I worked in clothing stores, bookstores, all that. I know what it's like for those people. I know it's like I'm good. Interrupting or intruding on others. Interrupting, yes. So I try to warn people. I didn't know that it was a bad habit or a bad thing. We would be in brainstorming sessions at work. And unfortunately, I learned this painfully in my 20s. But we would be in brainstorming sessions at work, and somebody would say something that would spark an idea, and I would just, yes, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and expecting them to continue to talk. We can have this conversation going on. In my family, all of us talk at the same time. We all got 11 conversations going on, and we jump in and out of each conversation. And I just assumed that that's how people talked and communicated. I had seen that in other families, especially other Black families. So when I go to work in an environment where, one, I'm the only, and then we're having these conversations and we're talking about brainstorming. Well, brainstorming is you throw out your idea and everybody keeps throwing it out. And then once you throw, it's like a Jackson Pollock painting. Once you throw all the spots on the canvas, you figure out what's good, what's not good, or does the canvas look good or not? And I got called in because they were like, you have a bad habit of doing. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's how I communicate. I didn't realize that that's not how other people, especially if you're talking brainstorming, I didn't realize. And then being in an environment where it was becoming more and more antagonistic, I've learned to strategically interrupt and interject so I could speak up for myself. So I finally learned and figured out how to go about doing this. It still happens. So I will tell people, especially if I'm working with clients or whoever, if we're talking and we're brainstorming, I am telling you right now, I may talk over you because I may throw out an idea. I have to get it out before I forget. I will try to write it down and wait till you finish. But I just want you to know, now I have a name to put with it. And I tell them straight up, I have ADHD. You might spark something in me, and that's going to be your fault because as soon as you spark it, I'm going to say something or I'm going to have to write it down. And so if I forget, circle back, whatever the case may be. But I give people a warning because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to be rude because I'm not.
I'm
so combined.
Yes, ma'am. And that's okay. As I have come to have like more friends who are like very clearly combined ADHD, we talking everything on this list they got. You ain't the only one. Understanding more how this sort of looks and that these are actual traits of ADHD has helped me with being more patient with my friends. Because if you're talking about the way our brains work, they go opposite directions in a lot of ways. So having thoughts pinging all over the place, blurting out, interrupting people. If I'm on a path mentally and you interrupt me, it is immediately irritating. It is immediately just like, what are we doing right now? I was doing something, you interrupted me. I was focused, I was doing this, and now you've thrown me off. And then on a very personal level, I've always felt that people who interrupt me all the time, I'm like, so was I taking too long for you? Oh, am I in your way? I'm sorry. I thought I was speaking.
Yeah.
I've always really, really had a personal distaste for people interrupting me when I'm speaking. Don't try to finish my sentence. I'm perfectly capable of finishing my own sentence. I don't need you to do it. I don't need that at all. I had to come to learn that this is a thing that some people just do, and there's not any intention behind it. It's not, I'm interrupting you because I don't want to hear what you have to say. It's just a way of communicating. I always felt like if you stop me from talking, it must be because you don't want me to talk anymore.
No.
And so my thing would be, oh, you interrupted me. I'm done. I guess you didn't want me to talk, so I guess I should stop talking now.
And I have seen that reaction in people that not only have I been friends with, but acquaintances or work colleagues. And then you're like, well, what's wrong? They'd be like, nothing. And so one of the challenges that I have had, I feel like I'm in a weird kind of space in a way. And what I mean by that is there are times where, and I'm very much like you, and especially if I'm hyper focused, you just interrupted me. And now I can't get back to where I was and what I was doing, or I can't get back into that vibe, or I can't remember where I was going with this. And you know that I'm going to forget, and you know, why are you interrupting me? And then there's other times like, talk to me. Why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you, so it's this weird, and I don't know if dichotomy is the word, but there's this weird thing that I go through, and it's a struggle, especially like with my husband, because my husband is a very quiet person. My husband, well, I'll put it like this. He's quiet when you first get to know him. Once he gets to know you, and if you're talking about things he's interested in, he is going to talk. And then you'd be like, I didn't know the man could talk that much. And I'm like, oh, trust me, he can talk that much. And I'm getting ready to walk up and leave now because there's no point for me to be here. But we used to struggle in conversation, like when literally on our honeymoon, our first night on our honeymoon, we're at the resort, we go down to dinner, and we're sitting there and we're having dinner. Now, let me put this in some context for everyone. My husband and I had a bicoastal relationship. We were friends for a number of years before we decided to date. So we literally did not see each other but a few times in the 4 years prior to us getting married, from the time we met to the time we got married. So we talked a lot on the phone, or I should say he talked a lot on the phone. And I was like, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But nonetheless, we were very familiar with each other. We were very comfortable talking to each other and all that kind of stuff. Had we had a whole lot of meals together? No, but we had enough that we were cool, and his behavior was odd to me. So we're sitting there at dinner and he doesn't talk. He's just eating. And I'm like, what's going on? Why is he not talking? And I'm trying to have conversations. Well, did you see the beach? The nice view from our room? Yep. In the resort, beautiful? Yep. It's hot out here. Yep. And I told him, and then I got frustrated. I said, hold on. I said, if this is how our marriage is going to be, I was like, we can go find the nearest courthouse and get a note right now. I said, because I am not going to go through. I said, I am not going to go through our marriage where you are not talking to me, especially while we're sitting down having a meal together. And he was like, well, I'm just used to sitting and eating and talking after no, can't do that. Not if we're sitting here together. I cannot do that. That part I cannot do. So we changed. So we had to learn how to communicate with each other, because he's one of those that's a brooder. He's going to think things over and over. It's going to ruminate in his head like he's a cow chewing a cud. He's just going to keep going and going and going. And then I have to stop him and go, I know that you got something in your head. Talk to me. Talk to me. So we finally got to a point. It took a while. It took a while where he felt like he could share the things that he thought would be upsetting to me. And so we had to develop a thing that I learned when I was a teenager and about therapy, which was when you have to talk to someone and you need them to listen, tell them, back in the day we had tape recorders, tape players, and all that stuff. And I don't know if folks still have all that stuff today, but we only have 3 buttons: stop, play, rewind. Stop meant I need you to stop right now. I need to digest what you're saying. Play meant continue talking because I'm listening. Rewind meant I need you to back up and say what you just said again to make sure I got it. And that's how we started moving forward with having more effective communication. And I wouldn't give up because I was a talker and I was always talking about my feelings. Well, can you talk to me about yours? And part of that was because he would always wait for me to finish a sentence before he spoke. And he would start talking. And I would be like, that's not what I meant. He'd be like, can I finish? Yeah, you can finish, but that ain't what I meant. And it's just me doing the, commentary, like YouTube commentary. I'm doing commentary, but I'm gonna let the video play, but I'm doing some commentary. But you know how sometimes you watch those people that do their commentary on the video and you be like, dang it, can I just listen to the video and then you say what you gotta say? I'm trying to understand what you're commenting on. So we've had to do a lot of work. And that's when sometimes I'll say, do you want me to listen or do you want me to? And he was like, no, you can say something along the way. And other times he goes, just listen. And it's hard because I'd be like, because I'm going to forget. So.
Speaking of forgetting, I think we forgot to stay on track. So.
Go ahead. My bad.
So.
The 3-step process. I'll have to come back to that.
Yes. So, but we've got a good idea of how these symptoms have shown up for you and what that looks like. What else were some things regarding identifying these symptoms in a person? What other things do we have here?
So some of the things that the doctor is going to look for is whether or not the symptoms that one is experiencing is really problematic in their life. Meaning maybe they're having problems at work because they're not able to complete projects, they're taking too long because they're procrastinating or whatever else. They're going to also look at if there's other behaviors that could be causing some of the things that are in question. So forgetfulness is something that happens across a broad range of health issues. So it's the type of forgetfulness, how frequently, and again, going back to the word severity, how severe is the forgetfulness, things like that. And then are there other mental health disorders that are there? So is the anxiety bringing on some of these things like the fidgeting and the so forth? Is it depression that's causing you to be forgetful or causing you not to pay attention to details? Are you bipolar? Do you feel like you're manic, where 1 minute you're on a high and you're doing all the things and then you crash down and now you're not? That's also a part of combined ADHD in a way. It's not bipolarism, but you're hyper-focused, you're doing all the things, and then you burn out. And now you can't do any of the things.
It's funny, too, because sometimes when I speak to... Yes. Sometimes when I speak to you or to Jazz, she's been mentioned enough times, if y'all ain't figured out, Jasmine got some serious combined ADHD. Some of the things that y'all were talk about how you... She will be. About some of the things you forget and how it feels that you forget things and it happening all the time. And me even like reading through this list, I was like, these are the things that I only do when I'm in a depressive episode. I only have trouble paying attention to details and staying on task when I'm in a depressive episode. So my mind is too cloudy to really do anything. So I can't imagine like having that sort of disorganization and forgetfulness just as a baseline all the time. And I was like, wow, like as I read it, I was like, wow, that's deep, because I only deal with that when I am suffering from a different ailment.
Yeah. Like one of the things that was talked about, like there could be co-occurring conditions, like sometimes it's called comorbidities and things like that, depending on what it is. So one thing that was done and found out in some of the research I've done is that it's common for individuals to experience both ADHD and ASD simultaneously. And that also complicates diagnosis and treatment because, like I said, there are times where I really felt like, well, maybe I am on the autism spectrum because I've experienced this, and that. And some of that I have experienced on a regular basis. But because it wasn't coupled with other things that generally point to autism, so I may not be fully on the autism spectrum, but that doesn't mean that I don't have some autism traits in tendencies. And that can also be the same the other way around. So it's really, really interesting. And then the other thing I wanted to point out, and we'll get more into this in one of our other episodes when we start talking about barriers to diagnosis, there are other co-occurring conditions that can also play into whether or not you're properly diagnosed and what you're diagnosed with. So like I have fibromyalgia. That's one of those things. There's chronic fatigue syndrome. There's also lupus. These are all rheumatoid arthritis and other things. These are all considered autoimmune illnesses. And oftentimes that's why people said this stuff is in our heads. It's not really that, or maybe we're going to treat this and that'll help with that. And that's like, no, that's not the case. You can have those things and still have, ADHD or have a form of neurodivergence. Are those things heavily connected to each other? Who knows? Most women our age or most women, I should say, because we're not the same age, but most women from their mid-30s up don't get diagnosed until they hit perimenopause or menopause, because they start having symptoms that are affecting their hormones that don't make sense. And they're trying to make sense. So for instance, Lex laughs at me about this, but I told her that at one point I just had pure rage. I don't mean anger. I don't mean high levels of irritation, like somebody would say or do something and I would instantly go from 0 to out in the stratosphere beyond the moon, like rage. And one time I was keeping a journal, and this is probably why I kind of stopped. I was keeping a journal that I would type online, and I pounded out. And I remember a little bit about what it was about, and it's absolutely stupid, and I will not repeat what it was, but it was something that was absolutely stupid. And I just pounded out this everything that I was feeling, this anger. And I was like, ooh, I need to password protect this so that nobody can read this. And I password protected it. To this day. I don't remember what the password was because I was in a blind rage. I have tried multiple times to get into that file with some of the most complicated passwords I have come up with. And I'm pretty sure it's a combination of some of those things. And then I just said, it's not that serious. I got it out. I'm on medication. I do not feel that anymore. I'm good. But it was scary. And there were moments where I felt like I was bipolar, which is what started this whole conversation with my friends was like, okay, so one minute I feel like I'm happy, I'm good, I'm this and I'm that. And the next minute I'm like, I'm done, I'm tired, I don't want to do anything anymore. And this is that. Now, part of that was depression. The depression had come back and I was masking it in different ways, not realizing it. Part of that was high level anxiety, masking it. So that's why we're saying you can have a lot of these other things going on. Doesn't necessarily mean you're neurodivergent, but it also doesn't mean you're not.
Mm-hmm.
It takes talking to a therapist. It takes getting a proper diagnosis, having them observe you, talk to you. My therapist observed me for a year before she finally told me I had ADHD. And I had brought that up like on my intake forms. I need to know if I have ADHD, bipolar, this. I like listed a bunch of stuff because I was like, something is not right with me. I don't feel comfortable in my skin right now and in my head. And some of you might be feeling that way. Lex felt like something's not right. I feel different from other people. Doesn't mean that we feel wrong or we feel bad. We just feel different from other people. And we're like, why am I feeling different than other people in this situation? I'm just like everybody else. And then you realize, no, I think differently.
I think for me, I actually did think I was wrong. I think I actually did think and I think having discussions from the lens of autism helped me to be like, oh, okay. Like it helped me to see it as something I could understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would present something and be like, this happened and I just feel like I didn't do it right and I don't know why and this always happens to me. And she was just like, hey, would you think about it from this lens? And I said, wait, that's a thing? Oh, it helped me to stop beating myself up in situations once I was able to maybe frame it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, going back to some previous conversations, you've asked me about certain terminology that I hadn't been quite comfortable with, like disorders and severity and so forth. And I think let me correct my phrasing here, because it's not that I think. I know that it comes from me looking at me coming into the world of neurodivergence. I was always neurodivergent. I wasn't in the world of neurodivergence.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is coming in and starting to understand the culture, the people. You know, it's like somebody of a different race being raised by someone else of a different race that may not have taught them about their race and ethnicity and so forth. And now they're being embraced by that. And they're like, oh, okay, so this is why my hair is actually this, or this is why I actually prefer this over this. And it's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is that when you don't know what you don't know, and then you're finally coming into that world where you belong, then you start going, oh, okay, so that is normal? Oh, so it was okay to be like this? And so I think for me, that's where I am now, is I'm really starting to fully embrace the clinical terms, the diagnostic terms that are used. I'm also starting to really decide for myself what that looks like for me, what those phrases look like for me. What do I want to be labeled as and accepted as? And it's also, honestly, I have embraced this entire community. And so I want to encourage our listeners that whether you think you squirrel, whether you be like, ooh, yeah, I've been squirreling, or you squirrel, you decide for yourself how you want to come in and fit into the community. Because I have found that it's been a loving, open, and accepting community, because we've all had similar and different experiences. And the more we talk and the more we learn from each other, the better it becomes for us as individuals. We find our place and where we feel comfortable. You will feel comfortable with whatever label you decide to give yourself, whether you're neurospicy, whether you're an Aspie, whatever the case may be. You decide what you're comfortable with. And yes, there are going to be people that are going to want to say something about it, but you know what? It's not about them. It's like your name. They may not like your name, but you know what? That's your name. And this is how I choose to embody it. So there's a lot of, I hope that what we've shared over the last 2 episodes really sheds a light on some of the symptoms and traits. I hope that it opened the door for some of you to really go, okay, yeah, I'm not alone, because you're not. So I hope it helps you go, I'm not alone. Oh, that explains so much. And I hope it encourages you to go and talk to someone so that you can continue moving forward in your journey, which is what helped Lex and I. It allowed Lex to be able to help me when I go, okay, I know there's like a 20-year age difference between us. And I'm like, so I know y'all ain't near this whole perimenopause, menopause thing, but y'all got to talk to a sister, because I something's not right. And they was like, yes, and so because I had my friends to go to, and I also want to thank Hannah too, because Hannah was one of the first that sent me links to say, you might want to consider this, 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 and this. And she was the first one that kind of took me down the path to help me to appreciate there was a direct link from menopause to ADHD and late diagnosis. And then it further came through and clear with Lex, and she calls herself the show mascot, Jazz. She's like, she goes, I'm the mascot and the resident bestie. Yeah. And I was like, in more ways than one, sweetie, more ways than one.
She's our show bestie. Show bestie will be here.
She's the show bestie. That's right. Real life bestie and show bestie. That's the other thing I want to encourage everyone to do, is start looking at building your support system. If that's not within your immediate family, look around you, look at your close friends, your best friends, look within your congregations to see who there is supporting you at school, at work. We're here. You can always share your stories with us. And we're here to help you as well. We're not experts by any means. We're learning all of this, but we will have experts on the show to continue to help us work through all of this.
Yes, we want to hear your story. For sure. If you listen to this and you said, oh, y'all don't know nothing, wait till you hear this. We do want to hear this. Please do share it. if you or someone you know is listening to this show and they are a clinician or they are a professional in this field and they can add some color or some nuance to the discussion that we've had, by all means, please reach out because we also want to hear from you. Again, we do hope this was helpful. We did have a week of some serious neurodivergence, so we did our best today. And I hope y'all felt that.
For sure, for sure, for sure. And we'll be coming back and talking about, you know, we laugh and talk about a lot of things, but there are some serious matters to discuss, like the challenges of being diagnosed, being women of color, because that's the whole point of the podcast. And that's the reason why we created the podcast. So we will be coming back and talking about those things, but just know we understand as best as we can understand, because all of us are different, but we understand, we get it, and we get you. And we're here to support you as much as we are appreciative that you're here to support us. So with that being said, I'm going to go get a drink. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh,
I'm like, wow, I've enjoyed the conversation, and I thank you for letting me talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it too, our previous episode talking about ASD, because every time we do a show, I feel like I'm understanding you so much more, and I see you so differently now, and I'm seeing more of you, and it's helping me to truly appreciate the beauty that is Lex, this crystal that has all these colorful fractals. I love it. I love it. Seriously. And I'm so glad we're friends. That was meant to be. But yeah, I'm gonna go get a drink and get ready to talk to my therapist tomorrow, because Lord have mercy.
Well, you just said very nice things to me. And you know, again, with people's other feelings, I sometimes also struggle to process other people like vocalizing their feelings to me. I don't always know what to do with it at first, but so I don't always respond to it immediately, because I'm like, I don't really know what to say to that. But I can start with thank you, because that was nice. I appreciate that.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So
and I do love you, friend. And here's his little heart. Y'all can't see me, but I got a little hand heart.
Thank you. No, it was good, and it was much needed conversation. So we hope you ladies have a good rest of the week. We look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Take care.
Bye.
We want to thank you, our fellow sister squirrels, for joining us today. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment and share your thoughts with us and your fellow squirrels by taking a screenshot of the episode, then tagging BGBG Squirrel in your IG stories.